He ate well, walked daily, never smoked. But loneliness took him at 74. He did everything right on paper. He never touched a cigarette. He followed a balanced diet, full of greens and fiber. He took a daily walk, rain or shine. His blood pressure was steady. His lab results? Impeccable. And yet, by the age of 74, he was gone. Not from a heart attack. Not from cancer. Not even from any diagnosed disease. The official report listed natural causes. But what his doctors quietly told the family painted a different picture. It was the silence that killed him, the absence of connection. It was loneliness, and he is far from the only one. Loneliness is no longer just a feeling. It's now classified as a public health crisis, more dangerous than smoking and nearly as deadly as obesity or heavy drinking. A landmark study from Brigham Young University found that chronic loneliness increases the risk of early death by 26%. To put that in perspective, that's a greater mortality risk than physical inactivity or even carrying excess body weight. The most alarming part? There's no warning label, no symptoms that scream for attention. Loneliness creeps in silently. It often starts innocently, a missed call, a quiet weekend, a calendar with more blank space than plans. Then slowly, your world begins to shrink. Not all at once, but gradually, until the silence becomes normal and deadly. What makes loneliness so lethal isn't just the emotional toll. It's the physical breakdown it causes in the body. A 2021 study published in Nature Communications revealed that older adults who reported chronic loneliness had reduced gray matter in the brain regions responsible for memory, emotion regulation, and decision-making. This atrophy is an early marker of Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. Research shows that lonely individuals have a 29% higher risk of heart disease and a 32% greater risk of stroke. Why? Because prolonged loneliness keeps the body in a state of chronic stress. Cortisol, the stress hormone, floods the system, raising blood pressure, constricting blood vessels, and putting relentless strain on the cardiovascular system. According to findings from the National Institute on Aging, lonely people exhibit higher levels of inflammation, lower immune function, and greater susceptibility to infections, including the common cold and flu. The body becomes less resilient, less able to heal, and more prone to chronic disease. Here's the truth that surprises most people. Loneliness isn't about being alone. It's about feeling disconnected. You can be married and still lonely. You can have a full house and still feel emotionally isolated. Because loneliness is not about proximity. It's about meaningful connection. Maybe your spouse has passed away. Maybe your kids are grown and busy. The phone calls come less often. The dinner table is quieter. And gradually, without you realizing it, the world you once thrived in becomes smaller. And so does your health. Just like quitting smoking or changing your diet, loneliness can be reversed. You don't need medication. You don't need therapy. What you need are intentional daily habits that reconnect you to others, to purpose, and to life. Social interaction is more than emotional. It's neurological stimulation. It keeps your brain sharp, your memory active, your emotions balanced, and your immune system strong. In fact, studies show that increasing social engagement can not only slow cognitive decline, but also reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and even lengthen your lifespan. Now let's talk about something that hides in plain sight, yet quietly weakens your entire body. Loneliness. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to get sick more often as they get older, while others stay remarkably resilient? Sure, diet, exercise, and genetics matter, but one of the most underestimated factors in immune health is social connection. In fact, chronic loneliness doesn't just affect your mood. It compromises your immune system at the cellular level. A groundbreaking study from Carnegie Mellon University found that individuals who reported feeling socially isolated were more than twice as likely to develop symptoms after exposure to a virus, even though their physical health appeared normal on paper. The reason? Loneliness alters the very expression of your genes, especially those involved in immune function. It reduces the production of protective antibodies and suppresses the activity of white blood cells, your body's frontline defense against infection. At the same time, it amplifies inflammation. Lonely individuals show higher levels of C-reactive protein, CRP, and interleukin-6, IL-6. Two potent biomarkers of chronic inflammation linked to conditions like arthritis, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and even cancer. The body processes emotional pain the same way it processes physical pain. To your nervous system, loneliness is a threat. It triggers the fight or flight response, floods your bloodstream with cortisol, and shifts the immune system into a state of long-term stress. What's truly frightening is that this damage often happens silently. You may not feel anything dramatic at first, just a little more tired than usual, a few extra colds, some forgetfulness. You take the elevator more often than the stairs. You decline invitations more often than you used to. And little by little, your body begins to break down. Not because of your age, but because of your disconnection. Just like the immune system can be suppressed, it can also be restored. And not through medication or supplements, but through something far more accessible: human connection. Loneliness is not a life sentence. It's a signal. And that signal can become the very spark that transforms your health, if you know how to respond. Step 1. Start small. Start with a simple conversation. A study by the University of Chicago found that just one 10-minute meaningful conversation per day was enough to reduce feelings of loneliness by up to 40% in older adults. And no, it doesn't have to be deep or life-changing. It can be about your favorite movie, the weather, a memory. What matters is the emotional exchange, the sound of a voice, the feeling of being heard. These micro-moments of connection rewire your brain, literally strengthening the neural circuits involved in empathy, emotional regulation, and even memory. Step 2. Move with others. Want to supercharge that effect? Add movement. Research shows that group walking programs, especially those involving regular social interaction, don't just lower blood pressure or boost physical fitness. They also improve mood, memory, balance, and reduce the number of medical visits. A 2020 study in The Gerontologist revealed that older adults who participated in weekly walking groups had significantly better overall health outcomes within just 6 months. Movement activates brain regions involved in reward and motivation, while the group setting fosters consistency and accountability. Step 3. Bring connection to you, even virtually. Can't leave home easily? Don't worry. Digital connection can be just as powerful. A 2021 study in The Lancet Healthy Longevity found that seniors who regularly engaged in video calls, not just texting or phone calls, had lower rates of depression and cognitive decline. Why? Because seeing a familiar face activates the visual and social cortex, areas of the brain that keep you sharp and emotionally grounded. The key isn't technology, it's engagement. Step 4. Don't know who to call? You're not alone. If your phone book feels too quiet, that's not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new chapter. There are now dedicated programs for seniors designed to combat isolation. Senior companion programs. Many cities offer these free-of-charge services, pairing older adults with trained volunteers for regular visits. Platforms like Papa, Silverline, and Mon-Ami. These services offer friendly, verified companions for phone calls, video chats, and even errands. And if you're more of a giver than a receiver, you'll love this next one. Step 5. The fastest way to feel connected. Help someone else. Volunteering doesn't just create purpose. It literally reverses the biological damage caused by loneliness. Even volunteering a few hours per month has been shown to reduce inflammation, lower blood pressure, boost longevity. Why? Because giving reactivates your sense of identity and worth. It pulls you out of isolation and into contribution. It tells your brain, I matter again. In a groundbreaking 2018 study published in Psychosomatic Medicine, researchers discovered something extraordinary. Seniors who reported feeling emotionally connected and socially fulfilled had lower blood pressure, reduced cortisol levels, and significantly better sleep quality, even when compared to individuals who exercised regularly but remained socially isolated. Why? Because belonging isn't just a feeling, it's a biological signal. When your nervous system feels safe, your body enters a healing state. Your heart rate slows. Your immune system reactivates. And perhaps most importantly, chronic inflammation, linked to nearly every age-related disease, begins to retreat. In fact, other studies have found that older adults with strong social ties have less buildup of arterial plaque, which directly lowers their risk of heart attack and stroke. And this effect isn't limited to the body. The most astonishing changes happen in the brain. MRI scans show that socially engaged seniors have more gray matter in areas like the prefrontal cortex and hippocampus, the parts of the brain responsible for memory, attention, and decision-making. That means the more connected you feel, the sharper and more resilient your mind becomes. A 2017 longitudinal study from Harvard, the longest of its kind, followed over 700 individuals for more than 75 years. The researchers wanted to know what factors predicted the happiest, healthiest lives. Was it wealth? Genetics? Diet? The answer was astonishingly clear. The quality of their relationships. Those with deep, meaningful connections lived longer, experienced less cognitive decline, and retained their independence, even into their 90s. When you're emotionally engaged with others, your body produces dopamine, the motivation molecule, lifting your mood and sharpening focus. When you laugh or hug, your brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone that lowers stress, eases anxiety, and builds trust. When you're in conversation, your brain lights up mirror neurons, specialized pathways that allow you to feel empathy and connection, helping you feel seen, heard, and understood. These aren't poetic metaphors. They're measurable chemical and neurological upgrades, biological rewards for doing something incredibly simple, being with other people. And unlike medications, there are no side effects. Unlike therapies, it doesn't cost a thing. And unlike many aspects of aging, it's never too late to begin. Maybe your circle is small. Maybe your kids are busy. Maybe your last conversation didn't go the way you hoped. It doesn't matter. Even a single moment of genuine connection can start the healing process. Because your body is always listening. And when it hears laughter, love, shared memories, and meaningful connection, it doesn't just function better. It comes alive. We often assume that the greatest threats to our health are external. An accident, a diagnosis, a sudden emergency. But what if the real danger is internal? What if it's showing up quietly in the form of an empty chair, an unanswered phone, a quiet meal eaten alone? And what if the real cure isn't found in a bottle or hospital, but in a conversation? Study after study confirms that older adults who feel deeply connected don't just avoid disease. They gain life. They live with more joy, more independence, more clarity. They remember names. They walk confidently. They wake up with purpose. And it all begins with the smallest of actions. One phone call. One walk with a neighbor. One, "How have you been, really?" that turns a stranger into a friend. That's where longevity lives. Not in luck, but in love. Not in medicine, but in meaningful moments. That phone call you've been putting off. Make it. That neighbor you nod to? Say something more than hello. That community group, walking club, or volunteer program you've been thinking about. Try it just once. Because every step away from isolation is a step toward healing. And those steps add up to stronger bones, a clearer mind, a more open heart, to mornings that feel warmer, to memories that don't fade, to years added not just to your life, but to the quality of your living. Not in prescriptions, not in procedures, but in the laughter, the voices, and the hands we hold. The best part, you can begin today. And if you found this video helpful, tap that like button so more people can discover the life-changing science of connection. Subscribe and hit the notification bell to get more powerful, science-backed health tips, especially tailored for thriving in your 50s, 60s, and beyond. And remember, your best years aren't behind you. They begin the moment you reach out. Because connection heals. Let's age with strength, joy, and community together. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.